On May 7, 2025, the long-simmering conflict between India and Pakistan erupted once again, as a series of airstrikes and retaliatory attacks brought the two nuclear-armed neighbors to the brink of war. The day began with India launching what it described as surgical strikes against multiple locations within Pakistan. These strikes, according to Indian officials, were targeted at terrorist infrastructure allegedly used to plan and execute attacks against India. India claimed its actions were a preemptive measure to prevent further violence, citing recent attacks in Indian-administered Kashmir that left dozens dead. Pakistan, however, vehemently denied any involvement in these incidents and denounced the Indian strikes as an unprovoked act of aggression and a violation of its sovereignty. The Pakistani military confirmed that 6 locations were targeted, including Kotli, Bahawalpur, Muridke, Bagh, Muzaffarabad and Ahmadpur East, Punjab, as well as 3 locations in Pakistan-administered Kashmir. Pakistan's response was swift and decisive. The Pakistan Air Force scrambled jets to intercept the incoming Indian aircraft, resulting in a fierce aerial engagement over the disputed Kashmir region. In a statement released shortly after the incident, Pakistan's Defense Minister, Khawaja Asif, confirmed that 5 Indian jets, including 3 Rafales, 1 Su-30 MKI, and 1 MiG-29 Fulcrum, were shot down by the PAF. In addition to the downed aircraft, Pakistan also claimed to have destroyed an Indian Army post in the Dundeel sector of the line of control. The Pakistani military released footage of what they claimed to be wreckage of the downed Indian jets, as well as images of an Indian pilot who had been captured. The pilot, identified as Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman, was later released by Pakistan as a gesture of peace. However, the damage had been done. The incident sent shockwaves through the international community and raised fears of a wider conflict between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. In the aftermath of the airstrikes and aerial dogfight, both India and Pakistan engaged in a war of words, each accusing the other of aggression and attempting to control the narrative surrounding the incident. India maintained that its strikes were focused and precise and targeted only terrorist camps, while Pakistan insisted that civilian areas including mosques and residential structures were hit, resulting in civilian casualties. The international community responded to the escalating tensions with a mixture of concern and condemnation. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting to discuss the situation, calling for both sides to exercise restraint and engage in dialogue to de-escalate the crisis. World leaders, including the United States, China, Russia, and the European Union, urged India and Pakistan to show restraint and avoid further actions that could inflame the situation. Despite the international pressure, the situation on the ground remained tense, with both sides exchanging artillery fire across the line of control in Kashmir. The escalation in hostilities raised fears of a wider conflict, particularly given the history of wars between India and Pakistan, both of which possess nuclear weapons. The specter of a nuclear confrontation loomed large, serving as a stark reminder of the catastrophic consequences that could result from a failure of diplomacy. The roots of the conflict between India and Pakistan lie in the tumultuous partition of British India in 1947, which gave birth to 2 independent nations along religious lines, India with a Hindu majority and Pakistan with a Muslim majority. The partition was a bloody and chaotic affair, displacing millions of people and sparking communal violence that claimed the lives of hundreds of thousands. At the heart of the dispute lies the region of Kashmir, a Muslim-majority territory in the Himalayas that both India and Pakistan claim in its entirety. The Maharaja of Kashmir, Hari Singh, initially hesitated to join either dominion, hoping to maintain his state's independence. However, faced with an invasion by Pashtun tribesmen from Pakistan, he acceded to India in exchange for military assistance. This accession sparked the First Kashmir War, 1947-48, which ended with a United Nations-brokered ceasefire that divided Kashmir between India and Pakistan, with a promise of a plebiscite to determine the final status of the region. The plebiscite, however, never materialized, and Kashmir has remained a flashpoint between India and Pakistan ever since. The two countries have fought 2 more wars over Kashmir, in 1965 and 1999, and the region has been a constant source of tension and instability in South Asia. The presence of a heavily militarized line of control dividing the region has only served to exacerbate tensions, with frequent ceasefire violations and cross-border shelling. The recent escalation of tensions between India and Pakistan is a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in South Asia. The fact that both countries possess nuclear weapons adds a dangerous dimension to the conflict, raising the stakes of any confrontation and increasing the potential for catastrophic consequences. In a region already grappling with multiple challenges, including poverty, terrorism, and climate change, the last thing anyone needs is another war. The international community must play a proactive role in diffusing tensions and creating an environment conducive to dialogue. This includes urging both India and Pakistan to exercise restraint, respect the ceasefire along the line of control, and engage in meaningful negotiations to address the underlying causes of the conflict. A lasting solution to the Kashmir dispute remains elusive, but it is essential to remember that dialogue and diplomacy are the only viable paths to peace. The people of India and Pakistan deserve a future free from the shadow of war and conflict. It is time for both sides to choose the path of peace and work together to build a more secure and prosperous future for the region. The alternative is too terrible to contemplate.